Did you know that according to the National Association of Realtors, 92% of home sellers who actively try to sell their homes by themselves, aka for sale by owner, end up listing with a real estate agent anyway? What's going on, guys? Kyle here, and today we're going to cover my 9-step script that's helped me to list between 4 and 6 for sale by owners every single month. All right, if you're not familiar with me, real quick, my name is Kyle Handy. I'm a real estate agent and team leader here in San Antonio, Texas. I've been in the real estate industry for about 12 years. I've done everything under the sun that you could imagine in real estate. I've owned a real estate brokerage. I've had a property management company, run successful real estate teams, and actively helped over 500 buyers and sellers in my career. Today, I still actively sell real estate, but I also create YouTube videos for other realtors, sharing all of the knowledge and tips that I've learned over the last 12 years. I put out new videos each and every week, so if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below. All right, fellow realtors, you've probably heard a lot about for sale by owners, but did you know that over the last 13 years, for sale by owners has been on the decline? In fact, today, the search volume is only around 20% of its all-time high in 2007. That being said, you're probably thinking, well, Kyle, why are you doing a video then about for sale by owners if it's not super popular? Well, let me tell you why. For sale by owners still account for about 7% of all real estate sales today, so it's still definitely a valid source of real estate leads. Also, for sale by owners have shown a willingness to want to sell because they've already taken steps to go and try and list their home, albeit on their own, but nonetheless, they have a higher interest of needing to sell their home than many other lead sources out there. If you'd like some more general tips on for sale by owners and how to convert them, check out my video on the 7 tips I recommend for converting for sale by owners. But now we're going to jump right into the script that I use for calling for sale by owners. So I'm going to break this script down into 9 parts so you can hear the inflection in my voice, and then I'll explain a little bit of the thinking that goes on behind these different steps. Also, I should just point out real quick that these scripts are meant to be taken with a grain of salt. Don't use them verbatim, because here's the thing, is that this script is not new by any means. I picked this up, many years ago, and I've used it. I've refined it a little bit. But if you start sounding like the other realtors that are calling using maybe a similar script to this, then it becomes less effective. So just make sure to put your own little spin on it and make it sound more like you. All right, so the first phrase. Hi, this is Kyle. I'm a realtor here in San Antonio. How are you? Just an introduction here. All you're doing is just trying to be friendly, upbeat, positive. At this point, you're going to get all sorts of emotions from people on the other end of the phone. They could be happy, they could be sad, they could be upset and angry. So just be ready for whatever comes next, but try and stick to the script. Oh, that's awesome. I saw that your house just went up for sale, and I know that you're selling it on your own, but I just wanted to know if you'd be open to working with a buyer's agent if they were able to bring you a fully qualified buyer. So at this point, this is where, my style strategy is there's no BS. I'm not trying to bait and switch anybody. You'll notice that I didn't say I have a buyer or let me check to see if it works for any of my buyers or anything like that. I'm just looking to see if they're open to working with a buyer's agent. The majority of the times at this part of the conversation, they're going to say yes. That is not usually their hesitation. Most of the time, they just don't want to pay the entire commission, but most are willing to pay a buyer's agent commission. If for some reason they say that they're not willing to pay a buyer's agent commission, I'll usually try to probe and ask a little bit more information like, oh, okay, really, why is that? And just let them talk. But if I can tell this person's having a bad day or they are just not having it at all, then at that point, we just move on to the next person. But I would say that over 80% of the time, maybe even closer to 90% of the time, when I get a live for sale by owner on the phone, they are going to say yes to that question, that they are willing to pay a buyer's agent. So then I move on to the next phrase. Okay, great. Have you already moved or are you still living in the home? So this question and the next question that I ask are really just based around getting the motivation from the for sale by owner, trying to find a little bit about what it is that they're trying to accomplish, their urgency, their time frame, things like that. So once they've answered that question, the next thing that I ask is, okay, got it. So where are you off to when the home sells? Again, trying to figure out motivation, figure out, their time frame, when they need to get this home sold by. The other reason for asking these questions is you're starting to build rapport with them. You're building trust as you're asking them questions about their scenario. So what I say on the next phrase is probably going to surprise a lot of you watching this video right now. Very cool. And I'm sure with the market being so good right now, you'll probably have no issues with selling on your own. But If for some reason, if you're not able to sell, you're probably not going to be looking at other options for at least a few weeks, right? So this is what we kind of call reverse selling. This is where I'm not trying to combat the for sale by owner. I'm actually, in fact, trying to complement or trying to appease what his thought is or her thought is with selling that home. And I'm also trying to just act natural. This is the way that normal people would communicate, right? Like, you're not going to combat somebody when you're first on the phone with them and start trying to convince them or sell them otherwise. I'm trying to just build a relationship, build rapport with the person. But then with this statement, you'll notice that in the middle where I say, but, that's kind of where I just introduced a glimmer of like, well, do you have a backup plan? And usually, because this one kind of catches them off guard, they usually will actually be back and forth with you and they won't be so combative. And so at this point, a lot of times they say, well, yeah, maybe in a few weeks if we haven't sold. So they'll start to kind of lighten up most of the time is what I've seen. So speaking of backup plans, be sure to back up and hit that like button if you're getting value out of this video today. So then that leads me into my next phrase that I say to them. Makes sense? Well, I'd maybe like to stop by one day this week to take a quick look, either before or after I head into work. What usually works better for you? Mornings or evenings, if I could come take a quick peek. So here's kind of where you get into that assumptive close. And at this point, you have already started to go back and forth. You've built some rapport with the seller and you haven't combated them on anything yet before. So here you're just basically saying, I'd like to come take a look. They've already established they'd be willing to pay a buyer's agent commission. And again, we're not saying anything like we're bringing a buyer or anything like that, but we're just saying we want to come take a look because maybe we want to take a look to give them some advice, or maybe we want to take a look because we will be that backup plan that we talked about earlier. But either way, because you've not been combative so far, a lot of the times when I speak to a seller and I get to this point, they'll either tell me mornings or evenings. It's that A or B kind of assumptive close. And again, if you get any kind of pushback at this part, like maybe they don't want you to come out there unless you have a buyer, say, hey, I get it, no problem. I totally respect that. Well, then at that point, you would want to go into kind of your backup close, which is offering value, which I'll kind of talk about here in a little bit. But assuming that they say mornings or evenings, which again is most typical, you're going to move on to the next phrase. Okay, I'll tentatively put you on my calendar for tomorrow at 4 p.m. If I need to change that, I'll give you a call. Fair enough? So there you go. You're not giving them another escape route or saying, you know what, I don't want to do it, or giving them choices to tell you no. You're just moving the conversation forward and taking charge. If for some reason that time doesn't work for them, they'll let you know, but otherwise you've now just given them an easy yes. So now I'll just jump into the second to last phrase and you're almost done. Perfect. I'll send you a quick email with my resume and contact information. What's a good email address for you? Now, when I talk about resume, this is basically my pre-listing package, and I'll go ahead and attach a link down below so you can kind of see what it looks like. This is something that looks impressive. It's going to definitely wow these for sale by owners, and you never know the reception you may get when you actually go out to the home and meet them in person. I had my pre-listing package made up by Angi Israel over at Plan A Advertising, and I'll go ahead and put her information down below as well. And then at this point, you're just going to finish out the phone call. Perfect. I'll send you a quick email and I'll plan on seeing the home quickly tomorrow around 4 p.m. Thanks so much. That's it. You've set your first for sale by owner face-to-face appointment. Now keep in mind, this is not a listing appointment. However, be prepared for whatever might come at that appointment, which is one, when you get there, the seller wants nothing to do with speaking to you and they truly are just letting you go through the house. I've seen that before. Two, you'll get the seller that wants to talk with you the entire time, maybe even asks your opinion about things and what you think. And here's what you want to do. You want to be as helpful as you possibly can, right? Don't worry at this point about getting the listing. Ideally, that would be a great outcome. But at the same point, if you can provide value and you're transparent, again, as I mentioned earlier, the statistic, 92% of home sellers end up selling with a realtor at the end of the day. So you have the advantage. You just got to provide value and make sure that the person likes you, because more than likely there's going to be a time, it may be at that appointment, it may be 3 weeks, it may be 3 months from then, that you're going to get the phone call, or you may call them again on a follow-up call, and they're going to tell you that they want you to list their home. Now be prepared when you go to the home. Make sure that you have a CMA done up for them and for you, so you seem knowledgeable about the area. And then also bring a seller disclosure and just be helpful. And again, say, hey, I don't know if you had all of your legal documents or not, but I wanted to bring you a seller's disclosure just in case you didn't have one of these already. Additionally, there's times that I'll be giving contractor information out to for sale by owners, or maybe even my photographer's information. But either way, I'm just trying to be helpful when I go meet them face to face. A lot of times it's a very nice, friendly meeting, but I'd say that about a third of the time or less, I actually walk away with the listing appointment, that first face-to-face meeting with them. This is all where the fortune is in the follow-up. Now, that's not to say I won't take my shots while I'm there and kind of mention things about showings and ask them some common things that they may have not thought about that might lead them to want to use me. But at the same point, I'm not overly pushy and I don't want to ruin my reputation or lose credibility from that great relationship we built so far over the phone and now in person just because I'm trying to get the sale too hard. Don't oversell. Again, most of the time, the for sale by owner will not sell the home on the market by themselves. They're going to need help at some point. You just want to be the one that they feel most comfortable with so you get that business. All right, well, that's it. So now at this point, it's basically just a numbers game. So you'd ideally want to go on about 3 or 4 appointments per week, which will require you to connect with about 15 different for sale by owners, which a connection is actually getting the seller on the phone. And in order to do that, you need to have about 60 phone calls minimum to get to those 15 connections. So the reason I bring up 60 is because ideally you want to figure out how big of a market, how big of a net you need to cast, what area you need to focus on to where you're finding 50 to 60 for sale by owners in that area. That might be the entire city. That might be a certain zip code, just depending on how big these areas are that you're in. And then at that point, if you continue to do this day after day, week after week, month after month, you're going to be building up backlogs of people that you've been out to their home, you've spoken to them. So not only will you be getting for sale by owners that are willing to list with you on that first appointment, but you're going to start getting the follow-up appointments where people that you met with months ago are going to start asking for you to list their homes. And we all know listings are the key to the game as far as real estate goes, because with listings, you can always get another buyer or more listings because now you got signs in the yard. So this is a great strategy for you to grow your business quickly. All right, well, that's it. I hope that you liked the video. If you got something out of it, give this video a like, make that thumbs up button blue, and then let me know in the comments, have you ever called a for sale by owner? I'd love to know. Well, until the next video, see you around.